Hi, you probably know me as Flore with two O's, or Flore, or Lucifer or Rui if you've been either A, on the Discord server, or B, to our maid cafes and events. Anyways, it's nice to meet you. I'm running for Social Sec. So, one thing that I noticed this year is that when you're new in a new space, first year moment, or an international student, it's kind of hard to dig your roots into a new environment because it can be very daunting to approach new teams and to try to make friends, even if you know you have these hobbies in common. So that's one aspect that I'd really like to work on if I'm elected for Social Sec, is really encourage a welcoming space for new students and people who aren't really used to being at KCL quite yet. I also feel like one thing we should focus on, because there's been signs of it possibly being a risk this year, is that I really want the society to not feel like it's a bunch of cliques that happen to be in the same space. I really want it to feel like, of course everyone can't be best friends and soulmates, but at least everyone should be able to strike up a conversation with anyone. For long-term anime fans, the ambience that I kind of want is the ambience of a convention, and I'm gonna explain that. It's like in conventions, you can walk up to anyone at any point and start talking about anything, and you can have an amicable conversation. That's kind of the vibe I want for this society. So I've run events before as part of junior associations. One was a charity, one was a book club, one was an anime club, and I've also run online events, which gave me a lot of experience as moderator. I've been doing anime fanzines quite recently, which is basically a bunch of creators get together and start working over a theme or a series and produce a fan book. And I think that really gave me the experience of how do you work with a team, how do you chase people for deadlines, and how do you meet deadlines, and most importantly, which is really number one in my opinion, how do you communicate between committee and society members and between society members as well. For example, I'm going to use an example of something that happened very recently. In one of the zines I was in, that I was a moderator from, that I was the social sec for actually, we had a thing where another zine copied us because they took the exact same theme as us, and I was responsible for talking with them, and I got them to delay their timeline, and also I got our artists to meet deadlines and to work more cohesively as a team. There's the fact that I've also been charged in the past to, for example, book venues or work with speakers and generally increase engagement. That was one of my tasks in most associations. So making presentations, going door to door, making brochures, moderating debates, that kind of thing. I could say I'm a very people person. I just want to wrap this up by talking about my interests in everything weeby. So I'm going to go with the fact that I would really wish for the society to promote more obscure content, more obscure shows, because it's always nice to discover new things, which is why I kind of rejoined Kenneth's candidacy for General Secretary, that we should have themes that are around, for example, time periods, or more obscure themes than big themes that have already been treated 1,000 times. I also wish that we had a little art cosplay thing going on. Not quite sure how to organize that, but I'm just the voice of the people, so I would really like it if, since I've noticed that there is an interest in art and there is an interest in cosplay in this community, it would be pretty nice to do something with it. Not quite sure what yet, but it would be really fun. So yeah. If you want all the information to be communicated to you punctually, rapidly, effectively, and most of all, transparently as soon as I have the details, then vote for me, because I'll always make sure there's better communication among us. Yes. I'm going to be looking at a few questions I was asked, the first of which being how would I respond to conflict between members. So I actually already have a preset sort of situation reactions with these because I've worked in other teams before. And there are two main cases. Number one is the subject of conflict doesn't directly impact the actions of society. So for example, it's an argument between two people that doesn't really concern the society, in which case the response is simply to tell them to keep it in the DMs or keep it to themselves, and if they don't, perhaps go for further action, but only if it becomes really bothersome. If it does, however, concern the society, or if it's something that's been enabled by the environment that the society provides, I kind of just focus on a case-by-case basis. I'd probably just check what the two people's versions of facts is, and from there I check not necessarily who's in the right, but at least is there a way that we can reach a sort of agreement, or is this just, again, two people that are arguing about something, and do they both need to receive a warning? Thing is, arguments are really a case-by-case basis. Regarding the question about how to increase engagement and involvement, I found that something, and it's a shame that we only implemented it rather late into the year, thing that works surprisingly well, and those who've been to like the Among Us voice calls or smaller outings might have noticed, is more quote-unquote informal events. Like, we do have the maid cafes and we do have the karaoke's, and all those are really, really fun, but sometimes it's like really daunting, especially when you're a fresher or you're a new student or you're an international student, or you're just not very good at meeting new people. It's very daunting to approach a group that you can have the impression is already formed and with people that are already there and who know each other and you're the only outsider. So it's really nice when, for example, you have a smaller group, I don't know, we could all go watch a movie together, or we could have a weekly Discord event, such as, for example, the Among Us night was a good idea. I think board games also have this thing where they kind of promote people who don't really know each other talking to each other. So in my opinion, in order to increase communication between members, it's really going to be about meeting in like really casual spaces and doing things that really encourage people who haven't spoken to each other before to do so. So things like, for example, the icebreaker quiz event was really good because it was a game and it motivated people to meet new people. So regarding what I change about our socials, namely Instagram and Discord, but I'm going to focus on Discord first. I think I'd make the rules a little clearer, in my opinion, especially for the mods who really had to work with their own judgment this year sometimes and didn't really know whether something was too much or whether something was okay by the rules of the server, so there's that. And then I think maybe we could restructure certain parts of it. For example, the Live 2D channel isn't very active currently, so maybe we could fuse it with something else or rebrand it. I think some of the channels need a little working in their themes and in what they're for, because they end up getting very mixed up a lot of the time. As for our Instagram presence, it kind of depends, and again, this is where I really want to be representative of what the people want, what the members of society want. If they want our social presence to be something that's just to warn members of like new information and keep them up to date, then I'm happy to focus on that. And if it's something where they want like a sort of public account that's more of a just an anime themed account but also does the society news, I'm also happy to do that. In both cases, I think that it would be nice maybe to keep it alive by having, I don't know, a weekly thing. We could have a channel suggestion where people suggest like shows they've been watching or books they've been reading or games they've been playing, and every week we sort of have like a themed recommendation page or something like that, which would be pretty fun. And it would also show members of the society what others have been up to without necessarily singling them out by having them stand up and have to talk about their thing. So I think little posts, themed posts, maybe weekly things would be pretty fun.